Today is April 20th, known as 420 among marijuana supporters.
Hey, happy 420. Here's a quick reminder that while wine moms are posting articles about how weed helps them be a better parent,
mommy needs a joint just as much as mommy needs a glass of wine.
there are people like Bernard Noble, a man who has only now just been released from jail after serving 6 years. Oh, for 2 joints, by the way. While most of the country basks in what is arguably the greatest holiday of the year, I'm here as your annual Scottish party pooper to remind you that while we celebrate the progress made in certain states, like California, where decriminalization has turned the weed business into a nearly billion-dollar industry with people like Nancy Whiteman, who considers herself an accidental cannabis entrepreneur making millions. All while in places like Georgia, people, especially young people of color, still face lengthy prison sentences for, well, also being cannabis entrepreneurs. As of just this March, over 79,000 people, or 46.2% of the federal prison population, were in prison for committing or pleading to a drug offense. And not surprisingly, a majority of which are weed offenses, a plant that has been used to create racial disparities in who is punished and how harshly for use, possession, and sales. For instance, despite almost equal usage rates, black people in America are 3.73 times more likely than whites to be arrested for marijuana. While making up just 17.8% of the population, Latinos make up more than half of federal prisoners locked up for marijuana. Countless lives have been unnecessarily upended, and in many cases, criminalization at a young age has become a predictor of lifelong contact with the nation's criminal justice system. Not to forget that still, on countless occasions, conservatives across this country will look to weed as a means to justify horrendous acts, such as acts of police brutality. Like the case of Philando Castile, where a police officer fired 7 shots and later attributed his fear to the smell of marijuana coming from the car. A vile excuse, but one that was still regurgitated through countless conservative outlets. Why? Because across this country, there is still some people that believe the way they did back in the Reefer Madness days. You know, where people use propaganda to affiliate the drug with unproven behavior and attach to racial stereotypes. So I feel that on this day, as I feel on every day, we use our platforms to give a voice for those left voiceless, those penalized still by a medieval racially motivated war on drugs that ruins lives, all because this country wants to keep its private prisons full. So while tweeting about 420, taking your selfies, blazing up, let's also say, hey, what if we just don't jail people for weed? For over 5 years, a majority of Americans have favored legalization. And no wonder, it makes complete sense. In Washington State, Colorado, Oregon, Alaska, among others, the number of low-level marijuana court filings dropped by as much as 98.6% over just a few years. Meanwhile, if you want to talk the language that most politicians relate to, money, tens of millions of dollars in marijuana tax revenues are already being put to use. Like the $230 million Colorado funneled to the State Department of Education, or the 40% of marijuana tax revenue Oregon allocated to state school funding. It is not rocket science, people. Hell, it's not even science, it's nature, it's a plant. One that has been proven time and time again to be far less harmful than many of the things we allow to be bought and sold daily. So on this day and every other day, legalize all plants. Follow me on Instagram at Francis M. Maxwell and on Twitter also at Francis M. Maxwell. Like and share the video. Continue to resist.